we are looking ahead this morning to the 2022 election matchups. My next guest, considering stepping down from her post as Republican National Committee Chairwoman and challenging Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2022. Joining me right now is RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel. Ronna, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. So tell us about a possible run for Michigan Governor in next year's midterm election. Are you in?
You know, I said it as a throwaway line to a group of RNC members, but what she's done to my kids in our state is not a joke. My daughter right now is asleep because she doesn't have school on Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week because she only goes to school every other day. It's been that way for a year. My son is in virtual. His first hour today is Metalworks. For an hour and 15, he'll watch Metalworks for virtually from home. It's a nightmare. Every day I wake up with my son saying, Mom, I hate school. And Mom, can you call me in sick? This is what Gretchen Whitmer has done to the kids of Michigan by abdicating her responsibility. And I'm mad. I'm mad as a mom. I feel like no one's fighting for our kids. My school board just voted to keep them this way through the end of the school year, while other districts around me are open 5 days a week in person. So she's on the Sunday shows, she's loving Dr. Fauci, and she's forgetting the kids of Michigan who are being put at a distinct disadvantage by having this education gap compared to states that are open. It'll affect them on their standardized tests next year, not to mention the mental health and all the other issues that are coming by not following the science and getting our kids back in school.
Well, I think you make a great point, and well said, Ronna. I mean, what is this going to mean for these kids longer term? Are they going to be at a disadvantage in terms of getting a job, in terms of income potential over the long term because of this really lost year?
It is a lost year. And I sit in, I watch my son do his classes on Zoom. We actually petitioned the school and said, can he go to the hybrid model where he goes every other day like my daughter's doing? They said, nope. Nobody's putting the kids' interest first. Certainly not my governor, certainly not my school district. And the thing is next year he takes the ACT and the SAT, and he's going to be competing against Florida and Texas and Indiana and Ohio and neighboring school districts of ours where kids are getting 5 days a week in-person learning. What they are doing to our kids is definitely setting them back, and no one's talking about it. And that's why I'm calling out Gretchen Whitmer. Come back to Michigan, stop being a media darling, stop being the darling of the Biden administration, and actually do the job you ran for as governor of Michigan and fight for kids like mine in the public schools.
All right, well, we'll wait for your official announcement if, in fact, it comes. I want to ask you about what's going on this week. House Republicans are gathering in Orlando for their annual 3-day conference on messaging, policy priorities, Ronna. You will be addressing lawmakers later today. What are the goals for this event? Tell me where you see commonality among members.
There's so much commonality. I mean, we're watching the Biden administration. You guys are talking about the capital gains tax, things like H.R. 1, things that will decimate our economy. Democrats want to get rid of the filibuster. We're 4 seats away from taking a majority in the House and creating a stop on the Biden administration and their rampant progressive policies that will bankrupt this country. So my message to the House members will be connect with your voters. Tell a story. Don't be in a factory with a hard hat talking about stats and statistics and facts. Tell stories to your constituents about what it means. Be real. Those are the types of things that will win elections. And we've seen it across the past election. Candidates who told stories, who connected with voters, and who are authentic do so much better. So that'll be my little pearls of wisdom that I give to those members today.
Yeah, but don't you think you're going to need to do more than that, Ronna? I mean, you got to get tough. The other side is tough with you, and it seems like the Republicans constantly get rolled over. I mean, I spoke with senior White House advisor Stephen Miller a few weeks ago on Sunday Morning Futures, and he said that Republicans need to work on big tech, have legislation ready to go the way that the Democrats did with H.R. 1. When the Democrats were in the minority, they got ready to have their voting bill, H.R. 1, ready so that as soon as they got in the majority, they were ready to create the background for legislation. Here's what he said on Republicans and what they need to do before they get the House majority back. Listen to this.
Regulations have to catch up with the 21st century. we're still regulating telephone companies as though hardline telephones were the way most Americans keep in touch. Look at the pandemic.
Right.
People are communicating on Twitter. They're communicating on Facebook. They're communicating on Instagram. We need to modernize regulations to say that those social media entities are public utilities for general use, and they cannot discriminate against Americans based on their religion, based on their political views, based on what they believe. That is a fundamental reform that we should campaign on, and the moment we have the chance, pass it into law.
What about that, Ronna? I mean, big tech and its dominance. Are you working on that?
100%. And it's far more pervasive than most Americans know. Big tech is putting their thumb on the scale. The RNC sued Twitter last year for an in-kind donation to the Democrat Party. Of course, it didn't go anywhere, but big tech should be treated as a utility. They are involved in political speech. They are suppressing conservative voices. We're seeing it over and over and over again, and they need to be restricted. And it's only going to happen through legislation. But first, we have to win back the House. So, yes, Republicans should run on big tech reform and cancel culture. They need to run on the border crisis that's happening. They need to run on the economy. They have to be tough and lay out for the American people all that this Biden administration is doing to disrupt freedom. It's freedom that's on the ballot in 2022 in this country, and that's what we're fighting for.
Well, the Democrats, though, are pretty much having an attack on our governing institutions. I mean, look at H.R. 1. Look at packing the Supreme Court. These are our governing institutions. On H.R. 1, you're seeing corporate America, Major League Baseball come out against the Georgia law. How come Republicans are not rallying up people against H.R. 1 if it's so bad? I don't hear a lot of pushback on that. And meanwhile, the Democrats were so aggressive on the Georgia law.
Well, one, we've gone at them in Georgia, too. We took out ads in all the black newspapers letting them know how much money was lost by the MLB moving out of Cobb County. $100 million. We have billboards up in Georgia. So we're fighting back. And on H.R. 1, we're up in 4 states with 4 at-risk Democrats letting their constituents know that they're supporting an overhaul of the election, removing governance of the election from the states to the federal level, and giving public funds to candidates, taxpayer funds to candidates to fund their elections. So we're doing that in Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, New Hampshire. We're making sure that these candidates know that that this is going to be on the ballot for them in 2022. But we're absolutely pushing back along with the NRSC. We've both done 6-figure media buys on this issue.
Well, the Biden administration certainly is giving you a lot of material to work with, Ronna. That's for sure. We will be watching. Thanks very much for being here this morning, Ronna McDaniel, joining us there.